Hey, everybody. Welcome back. It's another episode of the Spartan Shadows podcast. I'm one of your hosts, Chris. I'm joined with my co-hosts, Zach and Emmett. Today, we have a very, very special guest joining us. He's a Spartan legend, a little over 22 wins and just over 35 career starts at MSU. Threw for over 8,000 yards, 47 touchdowns, finished third all-time after his career was over in starts and wins. One of everybody's favorite Spartans, including one of my own. Please welcome number 14, one of the hosts of the You Are the Program podcast, Brian Lewerke. Thanks for joining us, Brian.
Thank you, guys. That was very kind words you said there, so I appreciate it, and I'm happy to be on.
Oh, yeah, thanks for joining us. We're excited to have you. We've been hoping to get you on for a long time now, and excited we finally get the chance to do it. Zach, Emmett, how are you guys doing? Appreciate you hopping on for this.
Yeah, no, really excited, obviously, to have Brian on. Also excited because we are, I believe, 11 days away from Michigan State football. So I can't believe, I know we've always said, like, it felt like just yesterday, it was like 50 days. 11 days, we got Meet the Spartans next week as well. So there's a lot of hype going on in this team with year two under Jonathan Smith. Really excited to see what this team can do this year, and obviously really excited to learn a little bit more about Brian's kind of journey at MSU.
Yeah, very excited. Obviously wouldn't miss this one for the world. Very excited to be here, and just honestly excited for the season like Zach. I was just on campus earlier today for the press conferences with Coach Hawkins, Coach Smith, and then Nick Marsh and Rodney Bullard. Honestly, the hype is just building every time I'm on campus. I'm just counting down those days till I'm back on campus for the actual first game of the year against Western.
Yeah, absolutely. And we'll get started right there. Speaking of the press conferences today, Nick Marsh had a quote that I thought was pretty cool, and I wanted to get Brian's little take on his portion too. He said today that the 2021 game against Michigan, where Kenneth Walker had his 5 touchdowns, was the moment where he was like, I absolutely want to be a Spartan. I want to be a part of this. How about for you, Brian? What was your I want to be a Spartan moment? Was it when you were taking an OV to campus? Like what really sold you on becoming a Spartan dog?
Yeah, that's a great question. I was taking a visit in 2014. I think it was my senior year of high school, and they were playing Michigan. I think it was the game that Michigan threw the stake down into the ground as well, if I'm not mistaken. But we ended up obviously winning that game. The one moment that I remember being in the stadium as like a fan and obviously a recruit was hearing like the "Go Green and Go White" chants across the stadium. I was like, that's the coolest thing I've ever. And I only took one official visit, and it was to Michigan State. And after that, I'm like, yeah, I'm set on this place. I'm good. I'm coming here. So it was that was probably the coolest experience as a fan that I was a part of.
Yeah, absolutely. It's crazy hearing that still. I remember going as a kid and hearing all that and was like, this place is out of control. Speaking of like high school visits and recruits and everything, we know NIL nowadays and recruitment's totally different than when you were taking your recruiting throughout high school. I guess I wanted to say, did you have any advice for maybe high schoolers nowadays on how to maybe handle their recruitment a little bit differently? Or how would your recruitment maybe have been different if NIL was a thing back when you were getting ready to play?
Yeah, I mean, it depends on the person that is being recruited. Me personally, I would have liked a place where I had the chance to play. I think money plays a little bit of a factor into it, but you can't look too deep into that stuff. Money only, especially as a college student, like it's not going to last forever. What will last forever is if you go to a good school, you can get some playing time and work your way up into the NFL, and that's where you make the big money. So I think the one thing you kind of got to look for, and it's what I looked for in Michigan State, is like a family-oriented atmosphere, which is what Michigan State had with Coach Antonio when I was there. And that was what kind of sold me is him. Coach Brad Salem was the quarterback coach back then. He was recruiting me out of Arizona. So just kind of that combination. I'm a big people guy, and I saw an opportunity to be able to play there too. And so I took my shot and went to Michigan State.
Yeah, we're grateful for it. I know I am.
So you talked about kind of the family atmosphere at Michigan State, kind of under D'Antonio, just kind of like that family culture that they built. Did that make it a little bit easier kind of going into your freshman year at Michigan State? Was there anything that really kind of surprised you? Because I feel like one thing about recruiting is like some coaches will be honest with you, will be straightforward with you, and there's going to be other coaches that, let's just say, aren't going to be as straightforward with you. And I'm sure that Coach D is someone that was really straightforward with you to kind of just say, hey, we really want you. This is what's going to be like. Because of that, was there anything that really surprised you? Or do you think the family atmosphere and all that kind of stuff made going into your freshman year a little bit easier than maybe most freshmen going into Big Ten play or just Division I football.
Yeah, 100%. And one quick story: when I was being recruited, there was a head coach that I won't name at a certain school, not any school that is like related to Michigan State at all, but he offered me and he said, "Yeah, we're going to offer you a scholarship. We don't really want you to come here, but we're going to offer you a scholarship just so like basically like to check a box." I'm like, "Why would you tell me that? Like that doesn't make any sense." But yeah, I think that definitely plays a huge factor into it, and just that family atmosphere of Michigan State. I think it was just the people. They have a great support system from the football staff to the academic staff. Mandy Chandler was my academic advisor, and she was awesome. We could go into her office and just talk for whenever we wanted. And also Tyler Higbee, who is one of the co-hosts of my podcast that I have. I came in with him. I was DMing him on Twitter when we were being recruited. And I was like, "Hey, do you have a roommate yet?" He's like, "No, I don't." I was like, "Do you want to be roommates then?" And we were both, he was from Texas, I was from Arizona. So we're kind of like West Coast, like hot weather guys going to a colder environment. We kind of bonded over that. And we've been friends ever since, obviously. So that kind of played a factor into it as well.
And being from Arizona, did you really kind of know that much about the Michigan State-Michigan rivalry? I'm sure you probably knew of it, but like, when did you really kind of start to really get involved in it? Was it really that freshman year where kind of that little bit of, let's just say, disdain for the other program kind of grew a little bit more?
Yeah, I mean, for sure. Actually, funny story. When I was in like, I think 5th grade, I did you had to do a school report on a certain like whatever state. And I did mine on Michigan back before I knew nothing about Michigan. And obviously, like the Michigan Wolverines was like the main thing that pops up when you like Google Michigan. So that was kind of really all I knew. I didn't really know much about Michigan State, but they offered me my senior year. Obviously, I watched them win the Rose Bowl in 2013. That was kind of what caught my attention. And obviously, it was a great decision. Love every second of it. So it was obviously the right decision as well. I think I made a good career there. But yeah, I definitely loved going to Michigan State and learning about that rivalry. I don't know if there was like a certain point, but just like kind of when you get to Michigan State, you feel that immediately. There's always that ticker in the team room that has the countdown days to the Michigan game. So it's always kind of there in the back of your mind. And then when you get on the field and you play in it for the first time, you know what it's going to be like for the rest of your time.
And obviously having Coach D, having some of his most famous quotes being about Michigan, basically it's never going to be over. I'm sure he probably played a little bit of factor in kind of that buying in of the culture and that dislike of Michigan. And because of that, like, what are some of your like favorite like Coach D like isms or maybe like a story a little bit about Coach D like that maybe might have not been told or one that you'll always remember?
There's a lot. I don't remember like anything specifically. He always had those like sayings. He had like 4-1 was one of them. I think my junior year or my sophomore year. I still don't really know what it means, but it was like the mantra for our team that year. I think it means like 4:1 as mental as to physical. Like mental is 4 times as much as your physical ability. But he would just have so many random things. He would always be like in a good mood, be happy, and then like someone would piss him off and he'd like start yelling at people at practice. Like you just always wanted to back the guy when he would say that stuff to the media. He wasn't talking to the media, he was talking to us because he knew that would fire us up, and it wanted us to like, and it made us want to have his back in those situations. So.
Yeah, no, absolutely. He's someone that obviously one of the greatest, if not the greatest coach in Michigan State history. Arguably, in my opinion, he's someone that obviously made a huge impact on Michigan State, but obviously you made a huge impact on Michigan State as well, like Chris said in the introduction, which is awesome. And I'm so glad that you've been able to join. But one last question before we kind of get to Emma. I know Emma has quite a few really good questions as well. What's your favorite game that you played at Michigan State?
I always say there's 2. Obviously, the Michigan game in 2017 where it was perfectly fine for the first half. No bad weather, no wind, no nothing. And then the second half comes, and I couldn't even see in front of me because the rain was falling so hard. I remember Coach Warner, our offensive coordinator, was calling some like pass plays or even like just like toss plays. I'm like, you got to tell him to stop calling this because I cannot hand the ball. Like, all I can do is hand the ball. Like, I cannot throw. And it shows because John O'Corn threw 5 picks in that game too. So because they were still trying to throw the ball. So that was, yeah. I'm like, you just gotta. Luckily, yeah. And luckily, we built up a lead before halftime because neither team could do anything after that. But so that game was obviously great. That was my first win against Michigan. And then Penn State in 2018, where we went down. I threw a touchdown to Felton Davis with like 30 seconds left.
Yeah.
And we were obviously an underdog there. I think they were 7th in the country. We were unranked at that time. And here in like Penn State was the loudest stadium I ever played in by far. I don't think it was a whiteout for that game, but it was the loudest environment ever. And to hear everyone go quiet after we scored a touchdown, it was awesome.
Yeah, I still remember that game. And you also have the meme or video of John O'Corn basically, quote unquote, like falling backwards in that game as well.
Yeah.
Still don't know exactly what happened there. Obviously, nothing happened, but still funny looking back at he's trying to get a little bit penalty on the sideline. Those two were great games, honestly.
Little games and shit by him.
Yeah.
As a Central grad, I didn't go to MSU, but I also got to thank you for that big run against Western because I also do not like Western, and so that was a fun moment for me, just personally. Because
that was a lot of fun.
Emmett, what you got?
All right. So speaking of the Michigan rivalry, I saw that you had just made you as a program podcast. You had just done your preview for Michigan. What are, just as a former player who's played in that rivalry, what are your thoughts on the rivalry now when we've seen a little uptick in, I would say, gamesmanship? In 2022, we had a tunnel incident. 2023 had Spencer Brown getting ejected for a late hit. 2024, you kind of saw that Anthony Jones, Colston Loveland fight. What are your thoughts in that just uptick, I would say, in almost off the field antics as opposed to on the field play?
Yeah, I mean, obviously you don't love the off the field stuff. You don't really want it to happen, but it's kind of a nature of the rivalry. I think you can kind of pinpoint every single year as to like something that happened in that game, and you just kind of remember it from there, whether it's on the field or off the field. I think it's just kind of part of what happens. You don't want it to happen every time. You don't want people to get hurt, but that's just like you want to play football. You want to beat the other guy as bad as they want to beat you. Sometimes it happens, sometimes it doesn't, but that rivalry is always going to be huge.
No, I completely agree. I remember seeing those, and I'm like, okay, you kind of see this uptick in recent years. I mean, if we look back 2021, you had the Michigan player trying to choke Kenneth Walker. I remember right before his last touchdown run.
Yeah.
So, yeah, you kind of see that uptick. And then, obviously, Michigan's been in the news lately for the cheating scandal and the destruction of evidence being enough that they couldn't punish them more. What are your thoughts on that? Are you glad it's over? Just doesn't really matter because it's just been all over the place. What are your thoughts on it?
Yeah, I'm just kind of glad it's over. I didn't really expect anything major to come down. I feel like the NCAA is not too punishing on some stuff like this. Obviously, there wasn't. I don't know. Maybe there wasn't a ton of evidence to it or not. But I'm just kind of glad it's done. We can kind of give him a penalty, focus on football now, and whatever. It's done and over with. So
let's beat them on the field now. That's the big thing is being them on the field.
Yeah, 100%.
Yeah, I just remember looking at him like, you're not going to see a ton. So,
yeah.
Even if it wasn't Michigan, I just feel like the NCAA kind of has had their power restricted in recent years with.
Yeah.
I guess in today's news, you also see Michigan State just named their captains about 2 hours before we jumped on the podcast. It's August 18th, about 9:30 at night right now. So, obviously, you were a two-time captain with the Spartans. What does that honor of being a captain mean to you?
It was incredible. I know there's been a lot of big-name players in Michigan State, obviously, that have been captains. To have that honor that your teammates respect you and they respect you enough and they know that you're going to go out and play well, stepping on the field, lead off the field well. It means a lot, and I'm glad Aiden Childs is a captain. That's obviously something you need from a quarterback, is to see a guy that leads. Even he's still a little young, so it's good to see a quarterback that's a captain, and I think he'll do a great job for him too.
And speaking of a quarterback being a captain, improvement from year one to year two. I know that you played a few games year one, then you kind of became full starter year two. What are some keys and what are some differences going from year one as a quarterback in the Big Ten to year number two that obviously that you realize but that you want to see Aiden Childs do this year?
Yeah, I think it's mostly mental. I think especially Aiden, he has all the physical abilities. He can run, he can throw the ball, he can throw a 30-yard comeback across the field on a dart. So he has all the physical abilities. I think the biggest thing is the game just continues to get faster. And your job as a quarterback is to make it slower in your head. And you do that by knowing what they're going to run beforehand from pre-week prep, knowing what personnel they have in, knowing your plays in and out, not struggling to read the play to the offensive line or in the huddle, knowing everything about your job and what you're going to do on each play, knowing exactly what I'm going to do and have steps for each play. So, and I think he was great at that last year. Obviously, he had some improvements to make, but that's the one thing I'm looking for is just that ability, that pre-snap recognition of the defenses, I think is going to be big for him.
And you also talked about him like being able to extend the play, and you were also able to extend the play quite a bit. I know Chris talked about the touchdown run against Western. I think that shows in itself that you were able to kind of extend the play. How important is it to know when to extend the play as a quarterback or just when to take what you can get? Because I feel like that's another step that Aiden Childs needs to continue to make, because I think you saw really early on, sometimes he just extended the play a little bit too much or forced it a little bit too much. But I think that has to do with him just being a young, more experienced quarterback. And obviously, once you kind of realize and kind of like learn to take what you can get, I feel like that's going to kind of, again, settle things down for Aiden as well.
Yeah, I think part of the ability or part of the reason he does that is because he knows he has the ability to throw the ball across the yard and to extend his legs whenever he wants. So sometimes it's kind of just holding that back. There's a very thin line between forcing a play or doing something wrong or trying to create a big play and force the ball down the field. So I think there's a very fine line between it. I know my sophomore year, I felt like I took off and ran a little too much. Obviously, it worked out because I was able to gain some yards, but I wanted to focus a little more on staying in the pocket. I think I did a little bit too much my junior year, staying in the pocket and not creating as much with my feet. So it's kind of just a feel thing. Some people have it. Some people don't. It's just kind of something that you got to feel out when you're on the field. And I think Aiden definitely has that ability.
Yeah, I know that makes sense.
Yeah, absolutely. And just for players coming into camp and coming into their first season as a whole, like for the returning players, what the spring, summer, fall camps, what are those like? Are you really focusing on improving things from last season that maybe didn't go as well as you thought they should have? Or is it more of a turning the page onto a new leaf and addressing things just as a whole, as a team, try to get the team focused on different goals for the next year? Like, how do those camp cycles really, I guess, what's the focus and how are they for players who maybe are freshmen coming in or sophomores coming back for the first time and getting a full cycle, already knowing what's going on?
Yeah, I think for personally, if you're a guy, you want to work on what you did wrong in the off season. Obviously, you can kind of focus on that a little bit come camp if you're still dealing with those same type of issues. But from a personal perspective, you want to fix those things in the off season and have that, already at like 90% coming into camp, and you're able to kind of build up on that. For a new guy, you're just trying to come in and not get washed away by the tide.
Yeah.
Obviously, because the days are long. Back in my day, we still had 2 days. I don't think they do that anymore. They don't do 2 practices in one day with full pads, but it's a big physical grind. Your body starts hurting by end of week 1. And that's a quarterback talking to. I'm not even getting hit by anyone on camp. So there's a big learning curve for those young guys, and they got to be able to improve not only mentally but physically and get their bodies right for a long 3, 4, 5 month season.
Yeah, absolutely. And then as someone who's played the game before, when you sit and watch that first game against Western next week, are there certain things you look at for the players that are newer that you can identify to maybe tell you how they may go or may do coming into the season, or like what are some keys that'll fit them well and give them success during a season? Or is the first game always just kind of like too little to tell? You got to see more. How do you kind of evaluate like an early game in the season because things are so chaotic past that?
Yeah, I think if you're a guy that's returning, obviously you should know the playbook in and out. You should know all the plays that are going to be ran in that game. There shouldn't be any mental errors as far as running the wrong route or blocking the wrong guy on offense. On defense, not being misaligned or blowing a coverage or something like that. So that's the main thing I'll be looking for in that game, just making sure all the guys that are returning are doing the right thing. If you're a new guy, you have a little bit of an excuse, not as much. It's just as far as playing time, you may not get as much if you're making mistakes as a young guy coming in, especially if they trust you enough to play you as a new guy coming in. So those kind of the things I think I'll be looking at in that first game.
And
Sure.
Speaking of games as well, being a quarterback yourself, can you actually enjoy the games? Like, can you sit down and actually enjoy, or are you kind of going through your head, like reading the defense, trying to figure it out? Like, are you kind of in that quarterback mindset, or are you just sitting there, like, obviously you've gone through it, like, you know what it is? Are you enjoying it, or is it that quarterback mindset and just kind of quarterbacking you take over a little bit, and you're like, hey, I'm reading the defense and I'm trying to see exactly what they're doing. I want to be down there playing with them.
Yeah, I mean, I was at the Browns Phillies preseason game this past Saturday, and I was like, I'm an Eagles fan because I live in Philadelphia now, but I was like rooting for Dylan Gabriel, just like trying to, like, because I was like imagining myself in his shoes, like making throws, like even if he made like a bad throw and we broke something up, I was like, wait, I'm a Phillies fan, I gotta be rooting. When it comes to Michigan State, obviously I'm rooting for them. I'm not rooting for any other quarterbacks on other teams, but I do definitely diagnose the defense and like, hey, he made the right decision here, or he kind of forced something, or he missed a throw. Obviously, I can't see the entire defense from the TV view. I wish I could get like the all 22 view, because I think you have to like pay for that. There's like a subscription on like some website or something, but I would love to see that and kind of break down the film after the game.
Yeah,
Absolutely.
no, that makes complete sense.
Yeah. So this summer we heard a lot about Alessio Milivojevic, the backup quarterback to Aiden Childs. All the hype about him taking that next step, and then them looking at his progress in the spring and saying, hey, we don't need to go look in the portal for another quarterback to push Aiden. Obviously, you've been in the shoes as the backup pushing for that playing time during the 2016 season. And then during your later years at MSU, you had Rocky Lombardi making that push and being that backup ready to go. So what is it like for a player to have that competition and either getting pushed or pushing for it every day?
I think it's a cliche answer to say, but it pushes both guys. As the guy that has a clear spot, you're kind of like making sure that you're always doing something better than the guy behind you. That you're going into practice prepared and all in friendly competition because you guys are on the same team, obviously. But you want to beat them out. You want to be better than them that practice, and then do it again the next day, and then do it again the next day. As the guy that's behind looking ahead, you're trying to push that guy to be better. As a good teammate, you want him to succeed as well, because football is a lot more fun when you win. And if the starting quarterback is good, it means the team's probably pretty good too. So you want to push that guy if you're the backup and just try and make everything a little better every day.
That makes sense. I just remember hearing all about Alessio just coming out of high school, then kind of behind Schuster on the depth chart. Then this year, I just heard a lot of, okay, this second-year player is looking really good. So I just figured I'd ask on that. What are some perks and challenges to being the starting quarterback in terms of just being the leader? Obviously, even first year, second year, what's the difference in taking control of the huddle? Because us as fans and media, we hear all about how, Aiden Childs is taking the next step and taking control of the huddle. What's that like in both the quarterback's terms and in, I would say, to the casual fan?
I think it helps a lot when you have a year under your belt of playing and playing well. People respect you because they know that you're going to go out there and perform as well. You can kind of correct some guys in the huddle, knowing that you know what you're doing, so we can kind of tell everyone else what to do and get them situated and get them in the right spot. It is a little difficult, obviously, being a leader because you have to perform as well, but it makes it fun too because you can be that guy that's in charge, take control of the huddle, know your stuff inside and out. So it's definitely a challenge, but it's a fun one.
So another question I got, though, is like, what are your thoughts on this current squad? Do you have any concerns or positions of strength you feel really good about? I would say, when you're watching that season opener, what are the positions outside of obviously being the former quarterback yourself? What are positions you're going to be looking at for either as ones you think are strong groups or just ones you want to see something out of to gauge how you think the season goes?
Yeah, I think the talk of the town over camp has been the receiver room. That's kind of gotten revamped, and I'm excited to see what they do. I think the O-line as well. You can't have a good team without a good offensive line, especially, and you also need a good defensive line. So any game is one of the trenches, especially in the Big Ten. So I think it all starts up front with those guys in the offensive line. Those guys outside the receiver. And then I think the DBs has kind of become a little bit more of a throwing league as well in general. So to have a good secondary, to have some lockdown guys that, one, know what they're doing, and two, are good at what they do is very crucial.
So you're going to ask Higbee about the offensive line? Obviously, having a little bit of experience for calling slides protections. Are you going to be asking Tyler Higby also for his breakdown on it, I'm assuming?
Yeah. He always, whenever we break down the team, he always goes first to the offensive line and breaks them down and makes sure, gives his input on how they performed that week. Yeah.
I'm the same way when we talk to Cyber. If I have any tight end questions, I'm like, hey, what are we looking at here? So I just had one quick question. Specifically, I know we talked a lot about Aiden Childs and the skills he possesses. As someone who has succeeded at a Big Ten level in football and then even made a professional career out of it, what are some steps do you think that Aiden needs to take to be a guy who can play on Sundays and play in the NFL? Like, I know he's obviously still really young and has a little bit to go, but are there things you could identify that he could take that next step on and maybe solidify himself as a real NFL caliber QB quarterback?
Yeah, it's tough diagnosing from the outside. I kind of mentioned his mental ability. That can always build for, you can talk about Tom Brady, you can talk about anyone. You can talk about Aiden Childs. Obviously, the mental can always improve. So that would be my biggest point to him, is to improve that mental, to make sure that you know what you're doing. Go ask, like in the offseason, go talk to some other not coaches, but talk to some other players, talk to some guys that you work out with in the offseason that may be at a different school, and kind of pick their brain, talk to some former NFL guys. And kind of get their experience and what they did and what they didn't do when they were in college. That always helps, and I think that'll definitely help Aiden.
And I know that Chris just asked about like kind of the steps that Aiden can take this year to kind of get to the next level, but I want to kind of talk about the team overall, because obviously last year, if you probably ask anyone on the team, even Jonathan Smith, it's probably saying a disappointing year. What is some of the biggest steps you need to see from MSU this year, from last year to this year, to show that MSU is quote unquote on the right track? Is it going to a bowl? Is it certain things? Like, is it being able to get a little bit more of a push on the offensive line? Like, what are you looking forward to see MSU making sure that they're getting back on the right track, back to what MSU was when D'Antonio was there in like the early and mid 2010s?
Yeah. I think like the bottom bar is a bowl game. Like, that we have to be able to make a bowl game. That's, as a Power 4 program, you should be making a bowl game every single year, especially at Michigan State. So I think 6 wins is obviously the bottom. I'd be happy with 8 wins. Obviously, I'm not expecting, and I'm hoping, but not expecting for a 10-plus win season in year 2. But I think 6 wins is obviously the bottom. 8 wins, I think, would be a pretty solid season. So yeah, that's kind of what I'm looking for. Player wise, I think, like you said, offensive line, and see some improvement from them up front, I think would be big.
Yeah, no, I completely agree. I think we all agree that a bowl game is kind of necessary, at least the bottom point. I think to all kind of get to a season that we're decently happy with. But when you're preparing for the season, there's obviously hype going into every year. And that includes kind of results you get from fall scrimmages. Like we saw the first fall scrimmage for MSU, defense won. This last one, offense won. How much stock do you put into these quote unquote team scrimmages before your first game? Because a lot of people are going to say, hey, the offense won the second game. They look great. The stars are playing. The offense is going to be great. But, like, what's the defense going to be like? Like, do you put much stock in there? Or is it not really too much stock that can kind of go into it before you actually see the first game?
Yeah, I don't put a ton into it, because obviously as a former player, I was a part of those, and Coach D back in the day, I don't know if Jonathan Smith does it, but he can rig it any way he wants. He could be, if the offense isn't performing well or it's a close game, he's gonna be like, all right, we're putting the ball in the 20 going in. Defense, you got to stop them or else it's game over. So, like, the defense could be playing lights out all game, and then Coach D sets them up in a bad situation 2 times in a row, and the offense wins. So I don't take too much into account in the scrimmage. It's just kind of more so to get those guys competitive and to get them rolling.
Yeah, no, that makes sense. I just didn't know which way they kind of approached it. If it's more of like one way, I feel like you can kind of have fans go both ways. Of you're like, oh, if the offense wins, the offense is great. The defense maybe has some questions. Or if the defense wins, the defense is great. And what is the offense going to look like? But I definitely think we all want a good offense, because it's been a little while since they've scored 20 plus points. So
yeah,
I really hope they get back to that. And I'm sure you're probably the same way.
Yeah, speaking of the scrimmages, I remember there was, I think it was a spring game where Josiah Scott had a defensive pass interference, and they said, actually, no, I think it was OPI or DPI. They said, we're just going to toss that, and then it's going to be one play to win it.
Yep, exactly. Like, that's the sort of things that happens in these scrimmages.
Yeah,
Well,
I remember this was the last year Jack Velling was asked during the final availability after the Rutgers game. He was asked, what's the difference between a 5-win team and a 10-win team? Now, you've been a part of, obviously, the 3-win 2016 team, the 10-win 2017 team. He said that there wasn't a ton of differences, just the minor bits of execution. From your own personal experience, what are the differences between, those teams that I would say underperform versus one that maybe overperform or get those 10-win seasons that almost became the expectation?
That's a great question. I think a lot of it is obviously the players you have, how well they're coached, and the buy-in that they have to the coaching staff and to their teammates. I think a lot of it has to do with the team camaraderie. Obviously, you got to have good players to win. You got to have smart players and the coaches that have been preparing them all off season before this and during camp and during the season and have good adjustments in game. So I think there's obviously a big mix of what can happen, but I think a lot of it comes down to the players and the buy-in that the players have to themselves, to the team, and then to the coaching staff.
Yeah, and you've been hearing a ton about team camaraderie from almost every player that went up to the podium the first couple days. They were talking about how there's so much buy-in with this team, and it feels different from last year. And even this time last year, we were hearing that there's more buy-in under Coach Smith than Mel Tucker's final year. So seeing all those talks about camaraderie, obviously as a team captain, you've lived, with the team camaraderie that gels together and can do great things, can upset the Penn States of the world. So does hearing all that camaraderie really give you hope for the season, or are you waiting until the results to really see that camaraderie if it was just talk or actually do it?
Yeah, I think you'll see it pretty soon this season, depending on how the games go. If the guys are still bought in and they're still fighting, say we lose to Boston College in week 2 or 3, whatever it is, are the guys still coming in early to the lifts, coming in on time, showing up to meetings prepared, all that sort of thing? I think it kind of depends once we get that season rolling. It's obviously great to have the team camaraderie, but once you see it actually happening, I think is kind of when you start seeing stuff.
all right. Do we have any more on your guys' list before we get into the final little rapid fire?
Are you going to be able to make any games at Spartan Stadium this year?
Yes, we will be at the Michigan game this year.
Nice.
Love it.
Good choice.
Yeah,
Great choice.
Yep.
Let's see it. Like I said earlier, let's see a win in person.
I would love that. Yeah.
Are you hoping for a night game or a noon game, mid game?
I think 3:30 is like the good money spot because you get a little bit of the morning, you get a nice time before the game, and then you get some night after. Once halftime's hit, you still get the lights in Spartan Stadium.
Absolutely.
You'll get to enjoy tailgating too.
Yeah.
100%.
I'm also hoping for anything but a noon kick for that game because I just got my son's soccer schedule for this year, and he has a 1:00 game. So I'm like, can we cook this a little later, please? 3:30 is fine. We're good.
Yeah.
We'll make it happen.
Yeah.
I'm perfectly fine not being on campus at like 7 a.m. that day. I'm fine with that.
Yeah.
Covering that game just to beat the traffic. I'm fine not being on campus at 7
Yeah.
Well, we did it with a couple of our other guests, and so I was hoping we could just end on we call it kind of like our favorites rapid fire. Just some couple of like East Lansing MSU related. What are your favorite this and that? Just kind of to get some insight on what are your most ideal parts of your college career. So I'll start. What is your favorite part of MSU's campus?
Probably Brody Hall for the food.
There you go. Okay.
Great
Solid
choice.
Yep, solid. How about favorite game day tradition?
I think pitching the penny on Spartan Stadium. Obviously, this is the player talking. Pitching the penny on Spartan Stadium, clapping the heel, and then the whole walk. Honestly, in general, I love.
Yeah, absolutely. That's one of my favorites too. Just more of East Lansing related. How about your favorite restaurant to visit when you're back in town?
I would say Hopcat, but I don't think it exists anymore. Does it? Is it still there?
I think it does.
Is it still there? Okay, I only go back once a year, and it changes every time I go back
Yes,
now.
it does.
So I can't get all the restaurants straight. Yeah, but probably Hopcat, I guess.
Okay, and then how about favorite East Lansing nighttime alcoholic establishment?
Back in the day, it was Fieldhouse for us.
Okay, yeah.
I think it's still the same from everything.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So
It's Cybert was the same. I talked to him about it. He's like, "Oh, Fieldhouse for sure." And when we met him up on campus for the Ohio State game last year when they honored Coach D, and he was like, "I think we're going to Fieldhouse after. You want to join?" And I'm like, "That might be too late for me, but I appreciate it." And then, who would be maybe your favorite person or one of your favorite people that you got to meet because of your time at MSU? Could be like a former pro athlete, Spartan legend, celebrity of some sort. Anybody ring a bell as somebody you got to meet because of your MSU career?
Yeah, Kirk Cousins. He was there when I was being recruited, actually, in 2014. Went up for, I think it was during camp or something, but he came up and I met him, and that was when I was committed, so it was kind of cool meeting him as a former Michigan State quarterback, obviously, and he was still playing. He still is playing, but he was playing well back then as well.
Yeah. Absolutely. And then did you have like a favorite sport other than football to go watch during your time? Were you into going to like basketball games or hockey games?
I didn't go to a lot of hockey. I wish I would have gone to more. I wish I would have gone, honestly, to a lot more sports. I didn't really go to a lot, but I went to a decent amount of basketball games, and those were a lot of fun. I think I went to Miles Bridges hit the game winner against Purdue.
Purdue, yeah. I remember that game.
I was at that game. That was sick.
Hey,
I was at. Go ahead, Zach.
If you're back for, obviously you're coming back for the Michigan game. If you're back in there as hockey, you should come to Munn. It's packed. Nightingale is doing incredible things. Great hockey. We've talked a lot about hockey on this podcast, so definitely would recommend if you get the opportunity to go.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, MSU hockey will be very exciting this year. So yeah, if you get some time and they're home that weekend, I'd check one out. And then I guess did you ever get a chance to meet Coach Izzo or have some conversations with him and just kind of your thoughts on him? Other Spartan legend besides Coach D'Antonio, so we always had to ask if you had any quality time with him.
Yeah, I met Coach Izzo on my visit also, and then I think he was always around the football program, so I don't think I ever really talked to him once I got there, but I definitely saw him around a lot, and he was at some practices and stuff, so he's a great guy.
Yeah, every time I've been near him on campus, there's a mob of people knowing in the area where he's at, not necessarily going to him, but so. Well, that's. Do you guys have anything else on it, Zach? I that's all I really had.
Yeah, one last thing. Obviously, we talked about this a little bit earlier, but do you want to plug your podcast? Talk a little bit about what you guys do, where to find you, where to support you guys. Obviously, you guys have a great podcast. It's a great listen, so definitely tune in. Obviously, like I said at the beginning, I know that you guys just got on YouTube, but just talk a little bit about your podcast where people can find you and support you.
Yeah, I appreciate it. It's called You Are the Program podcast. We have it on YouTube, which is new now. We have it on Apple Podcasts, and we have it on Spotify. And we just got a new StreamYard platform where we're uploading videos onto YouTube now, so that's great. We all look pretty in front of the camera now. It used to just be voices. That's good. We have a Twitter account as well. I think it's YATP_podcast. It's me, Tyler Higbee, and Dante Rosano, all former players. We kind of just did it just to talk Michigan State football. Helps me keep up with Michigan State and follow them. And it's obviously great talking about football whenever I can. So
yeah,
who
absolutely.
came up with the podcast idea? I'm actually interested. Who came up with it?
I think it was Dante.
Okay.
Yeah. Because Dante and Tyler did it for a year, and then I hopped on after that. So it's been around for like 4 years now, I think.
Yeah. It's a really good listen. I've been listening to some of you. You guys have been doing the game-by-game reaction, predictions, previews, I guess you want to say.
Yep.
I enjoy it. It's nice to go through and hear the thoughts on each team and all that sort of thing. So I appreciate your guys' podcast. It's a good one to listen to.
Yeah, thank you.
Emmett, do you have anything you want to say before we close it down?
So I do have a quick question for you. If you can pick either one player from this year's current team and add it to any of the teams you were a part of for 2015 to 2019, who are you picking to add to that group?
Well, as a quarterback, I think I have to say Nick Marsh.
I was about to say Nick.
I had a lot of good receivers in my time, but I think Nick Marsh would be a lot of fun to play with.
Nick Marsh,
Cody White, Daryl Stewart, and Felton.
Yeah. Yeah, those four together would be insane. We'd be running 4 wide receivers every play.
4 birds go. I'll reverse it for you. If you could take one of your teammates and add it to this team to improve it, you got anybody in mind?
I'd probably say either Kari Willis or Joe Bocci, because they were both not only great players, they were great leaders. Joe obviously is still playing, and he'd be great leader for the defense. Kari was a great player. Same with him, great leader for the defense. So I think both those guys would be great with him.
I agree. Those would both be pretty solid choices.
Jordan Hall, Joe Bocci in the middle, that would be a nightmare right there.
Yeah.
I would like that.
Me.
So, well, we appreciate you taking the time to join us. I know you guys you got to get to your podcast too, so we won't keep you any further. Guys, in the comments and everything, make sure you go follow. I'll link all of Brian's stuff in the program stuff. We appreciate you you coming on, man. Feel free anytime you want to come back and talk more ball. We always love doing it too. So we wanted to gear a little bit more to today's team, but we're always down to talk everything. So you're always welcome, and we appreciate you taking the time to do it.
Yeah, thanks for having me on, guys. Appreciate it.
Not a problem, guys. That's former MSU quarterback Brian Lewerke. Check out his podcast. Any thoughts, comments, or anything you want us to relay to him, comment it below, and we'll see you guys all soon. So thanks. Have a great day, and as always, go green.
Go White.
Go White.